Dear students, today I am going to summarize Act 3 of As You Like It. In Act 3, Oliver is banished and is sent to find Orlando by Duke Frederick because Duke Frederick is enraged as Orlando was the son of his enemy Sir Roland de Boys. And even he was not happy with the fact that Rosalind and Celia had love for Orlando. Though he said he didn't love him, Duke Frederick seizes the properties as he thinks Oliver a bigger villain. And we also got to know that Orlando is in deeply love with Rosalind, and as he enters the forest of Arden, he goes on pining for his beloved, begins to write love poems and hang them on trees for Rosalind. At the same time, Corin and Touchstone discuss the differences between country life and court life, and they criticizes the wickedness of court life and the goodness of country life. And Rosalind and Celia read the verses attached to trees written by Orlando, and they discuss about the love sonnets and carvings on the trees. And Celia discloses the appearance of Orlando in the forest, and Rosalind was excited to listen about that. And she is so excited and expresses her love feel for Orlando before Celia. Now Orlando enters with Chucks while the cousins were in conversation. And Rosalind decides to talk to Orlando, and Orlando fails to recognize Rosalind in disguise. And she is disguised as Ganymede, a young gallant man. Orlando wonders that Ganymede lived all his life in the country, and he was not able to identify her. Ganymede tells that he learned English from his uncle, who studied about love. Then they started to talk about sonnets and carvings on the trees, which Orlando is totally unaware of the fact that it was Rosalind. Orlando admits that he wrote the love sonnets and carved verses on trees for Rosalind. And Ganymede tells that they didn't have characteristics of love, and she was quite critical of his love poems, and she was just making fun of him. Ganymede tells Orlando that he can cure him of his love, and tells Orlando to court him just as the way he would have courted Rosalind. In turn, Ganymede pretends to be Rosalind in love. Then Orlando will be cured of his love for Rosalind. This was planned by Rosalind, and she asked Orlando to come to his cottage every day and pretend to court Ganymede as Rosalind. Although he does not wish to be cured, he agrees to the proposal. In the meantime, we also get to know about the love story of Touchstone and Audrey. Touchstone woos Audrey in the forest of Arden, and his manner as court jester is in sharp contrast with the simple outlook to life Audrey has. Touchstone has requested Sir Marquess to marry him to Audrey, and he was very hurrying to marry her the very next day, and that too under a tree. Jacques agrees to give away Audrey to Touchstone, but Jacques does not wish her marriage done under a tree like a beggar. Touchstone thinks it as advantageous as he can leave his wife easily if he wishes. After listening to Jacques' advice, Touchstone agrees to postpone the marriage for the time being. And in the next scene, we get to know Rosalind expresses her extreme love for Orlando before Celia, and she feels that Orlando is late for his appointment with her. And Rosalind met her father the previous day but didn't disclose her identity. Corinne arrives and informs them about love quarrel between Sylvius and Phoebe. Corinne asks them if they wish to see pageant of love and proud disdain between Sylvius and Phoebe. Sylvius appeals to Phoebe not to hate him and begs her to show pity like hangman before execution. Phoebe gets angry, being called cruel, and casts her eyes at Sylvius to know if they could kill. She is disappointed, but Sylvius hopes for her pity and love one day. Rosalind scolds Phoebe for her hatred and scorning at Sylvius, and tells Phoebe to accept Sylvius' love for her, and she won't find a better man than Sylvius. Phoebe, however, falls in love with Rosalind in disguise, that is Ganymede. Rosalind notices this and is purposely rude to her. Invites Phoebe to her cottage and tells Sylvius to continue his courtship. Phoebe realizes true love and begins to sympathize with Sylvius later, but is still unable to love him as a man, as he was in love with Ganymede, and wants him not to take any rewards. Then sends Rosalind a scornful letter through Sylvius. In an errand, Phoebe convinces Sylvius that she does not love Ganymede. These are the incidents that happen in Act 3 of As You Like It. Now let me point out some highlights of this scene or act. Oliver is banished and seeks refuge in the Forest of Arden, and he has to search for his brother Orlando for Duke Frederick. Mocking of Rosalind and Orlando is tickling and absorbing in this act. Corinne and Touchstone distinguish between court life and country life or pastoral life. Jux connects forest life with pastoral life. Touchstone's sexual love for Audrey is evident here. Sylvia's love for Phoebe is a satire on conventional love. Rosalind's exquisite wit in curing Sylvius of his love for Phoebe is also seen here in this act. These are some of the important highlights that we can gather from this act. Thank you so much.